All right, we should be recording now. Wow. Hey, Sue. How are you? It's good to see you right off the bat. Let me say hello to you and Patty and Charlie, who I see coming on board. Welcome to another installment of Get a Clue in 52. This is the every night Sunday night jam where I come to you live as is from my home office or wherever I happen to be on a Sunday night. And what we're doing is we're reading a tip every single week from the book, Get a Clue in 52. And this is tip number 49 this week. Wow, can you believe that? So there's tonight, then 50, 51, and 52. So tonight is the last of 4 remaining tips of the year. We have 5 categories in the book: communication, accountability, networking, sales, and marketing, right? And we're in the accountability section. That's the last section that we're finishing with. We did that last year. We're doing it this year. I'm excited because next year, if things go the way I plan, we're going to have 5 new categories and 52 brand new tips. I could preview that for you guys later on if we need to get into that. But let me go ahead and get into what we're here to get into, which is accountability. We are in the land of accountability. I'm not live streaming on Facebook tonight, but I am streaming in to my YouTube channel per normal. I want to make sure I get all 52 tips this year live streamed into the YouTube channel. Every now and then I go live on Facebook and stream to my homepage, but I'm not messing with that tonight. We're just going to go ahead and get after it. All right. And starting in the accountability section, I'm going to review the first 6 tips in the section and then read tonight's tip, which is the 7th in this section, and then we'll entertain any live conversation. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. We got Charlie, who's here just about religiously, Patty, who's just about here religiously, and then that, oh my God, all the way from South Africa. No, I'm sorry. South Africa is Charlie. Australia is Sue, all the way chiming in. So I'm excited. Like I'm not, I want to say nervous, but I am excited. All right. Anyway, here we go. Tip number 1 in the accountability section was to look within. Don't do anything in accountability until you look within. Look within first. Every job is an inside job. Thank you, Patty. I see you nodding. Look within. Don't try to do anything regarding accountability until you look within. All right. Second tip was, while you're looking within, understand integrity. Looking within is the greatest time in the world to think about or understand, expand your notion of what integrity is. And I hope in tip number 2, I did that. Tip number 2 is actually a preview for the book I'm working on now, which is called The Integrity Game. And there's a preview chapter. This little circle right here proves it. This little circle right here proves that there's a preview chapter. I thank you for laughing, or at least smiling, Sue. Thank you. This little circle proves there's a preview chapter of the integrity game here in the book. But beyond the preview chapter of the integrity game, which is like an actual chapter of the book, tip number 2 in the accountability section is a preview for the whole book, because the 10 things that I cover in tip number 2 are the 10 points that we take our hero, our protagonist, through on their journey in the integrity game in the book that I'm working on now. So what I mean, I could keep talking about tip number 2 forever. It's everything. It's beautiful. I love it. I hope you read it. Hope you've read it. Hope you read it again if you've read it. On and on and on. Tip number 3, we look within, then we understand integrity. So tip number 3 is get smart about goal setting. Goal setting is actually the 4th point on my 10-point model of integrity, but it's such an important point as far as accountability is concerned that it deserves its own tip in the book. It's one of 10 tips in the integrity game model, but it deserves its own tip here in the accountability section of Get a Clue in 52. Tip number 3. So as a point of review, we look within, we understand integrity, now we set our goals, right? From there, tip number 4, we want to look outside. And tip number 4 was all about looking outside for external accountability sources. Water there is important. Water is, I was in the sun a lot today, so I'm hydrating. Look outside for an external accountability source. A lot of people think, oh, I'll hold myself accountable, or I have an accountability partner. And both of those are better than nothing. But I laugh at both of those compared to what it is to have an external accountability source. And then not just an external accountability source, but an external accountability source that knows what they're doing, that has studied accountability, trained in accountability, has demonstrated a competence in holding others accountable powerfully and gracefully. So I mean, I recommend you go all the way there if you can. Not everybody can afford accountability coaching, but it's not the most expensive thing in the world. And there's a lot of people that will do it affordably if they're trained well and so forth. But once you look within, understand integrity, set your goals, now it's time to look outside. So there's like a bookend, like a symmetry right there between tips 1 and 4. Look within, then look outside. Look internal, look external. In the middle, you'll play the integrity game, set your goals. Now you're ready for external accountability. That brings me to tip number 5, which shifts this perspective in the chapter. At first, the first 4 tips, we're talking about your own accountability, being held accountable. Don't hold others accountable. Don't do anything about accountability until you look within and are willing to be held accountable. But tip number 5 is like, hey, if you're the person that's supposed to hold other people accountable, make sure you get their permission first. Okay. So however that comes, whether they're paying for it, signing, initialing, whatever the case may be, if you don't have somebody's permission to hold them accountable, it means you don't have permission to lead them, right? Then you're leading by force, or you're accounting by drill sergeant, versus some other form. I'm not finding the perfect words for it right now. My point is, I can lead anybody much better if I have their permission to lead them than I would if I did not have their permission to lead them. Very simple. So what does that look like when you're a boss, a supervisor, a manager, a business owner, a coach, a consultant, an advisor? It's got to be so challenging. If you're a realtor, a mortgage advisor, a financial advisor, an estate planning attorney, are you guys with? How do you then lead somebody if you don't have their permission? How do you get people to follow you and your guidance and your advising, right, without their permission? It's darn near impossible, right? And you're going to end up using tactics that are counter to what I think are your highest objectives if you submit or reduce yourself to tactics other than the work of building and earning rapport and trust and permission to lead. I can get into it. As a matter of fact, what I probably just said is probably longer than the whole damn tip, right? I laugh at myself. You guys understand what I'm getting at, right? Permission. That took us to last week's tip. Wasn't that fun last week to have a fresh face? Beautiful face. Oh my God, she's so beautiful. Kim Peterson, she was on board with us from Uniquely Savvy. She was our special guest last week for authoring State of Mind. And in the tip, I suggested that there's 3 ingredients to state of mind. I didn't come up with this on my own. I learned this from my coach's training, who learned it from Tony Robbins, who learned it from, right? But I summarized this notion that if we can manipulate one of 3 things, we should be in control of our own state of mind. 1 is our physiology, 2 is the beliefs, and 3 is the language, right? And Kim was it's a great segue into Kim and what she does, because she's a stylist and a confidence coach, uniquely savvy. When I first met Kim, she was like taking people shopping and styling them out. Now she's done speaking and trainings and mindset coaching and all these things in between. And it was fun to have her on board for last week's tip, authoring state of mind. We can author our state of mind. Most of us, including myself at many times, just because I teach this and I understand it doesn't mean I'm anything other than human. I still get into moods that I don't necessarily want to be in, but I think I'm a little bit better about getting myself out of them once they arrive, because I know how to author my state of mind. That doesn't mean my mood will always be perfect. It means that I am in control or able to get myself into a more ideal mood whenever I want to or choose to. And I'm a human being. I don't always choose to, even though if I'm thinking to myself, oh, I could change my state of mind right now, I still go with what I'm going with, right? We're emotional creatures in addition to all of the logic we possess. So that takes us to tonight. Hey, Charlie, did you get that one, by the way? We are emotional creatures despite all of the logic we possess. Patty, I think you like that one. I'm like, gotta look in really closely to look at the little mini camera right there. I could pull up a gallery view and see your face a little bit more fully. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. I see all of you guys now in a gallery style. But anyway, yeah, there you go. How's that for a Klubi snack to kick us off? You got it, Charlie? Yeah. We are emotional creatures, despite all of the logic we possess. All right. Having said all of that, we are ready. 8:10 p.m. Let me take another sip of water here. The universal solvent water is. All right, here we go. Excuse me, page number 121, tip number 7 of accountability, tip number 49 overall. Gather. I'm already smiling. I can't even say it without thinking about you, Patty. Gather tools of confrontation. And Patty, you know why I'm smiling, because every time I see this word now, we changed it to profrontation. So let's talk about that on the back end. But let me go ahead and read, because I think we changed it after I wrote this tip back in 2019. Here we go. All right, word for word. I'm leading off this tip with one of those universal laws that we have probably all heard about and all understand on at least some level, in italics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Okay, that's the laws of physics, right? All right, back to word for word. What does that mean regarding our efforts to confront and account for our clients, our direct reports' behavior? If each action has an equal and opposite reaction, then what will happen when we ask somebody if they did what they said they would do, ... what they were supposed to do, ... what is best for them to do, ... what we know will get them the result they seek? Will they just ask us the exact same questions and push back with equal and opposite reaction to being confronted or pressed upon for accountability? Not if we use certain tools of confrontation that align us with the client in a way that they see us as part of themselves versus an adversarial force. Charlie, did you get that? Did you hear that? I'll say it again. Not if we, and by the way, this is not a complete Klubi snack. We have to curate it, but it's Klubi snack worthy, right? Because the preceding question is, will they just ask us the same questions and the exact same questions and push back with equal and opposite reactions being confronted or pressed upon for accountability? Here's where the Klubi snack part starts. Not if we use certain tools of confrontation that align us with the client in a way that they see us as a part of themselves versus an adversarial force. That's the most important part. I'm looking for a tissue so I can blow my nose real quick. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me blow my nose and I'll finish reading. All right. Much better. Okay. Here we go. May I share just a few of these tools and hope that you wish to learn more about them and others in our coaching and leadership training. Yeah, I want everybody out there to get into my coaching and leadership training. There's the shameless plug. Thank you for nodding, Patty, because you want everybody to get into it too. I know you do. All right, here we go. So here's some tools from Tools of Confrontation. These are pulled out of my coaching and leadership training when I'm teaching and training people to hold other people accountable, but still keep them engaged, still keep rapport, like powerful yet graceful accountability and confrontation. Well, what do we call it, Patty? We call it profrontation. It's not a con, it's a pro, right? It's a positive, it's not a negative. A lot of people avoid confrontation. They see it as negative. Well, let's get that con out of it then. Let's call it profrontation. Anyway, I digress. Here we go. Thank you. Levels of posture. Sometimes we need to shift our posture with our clients or direct reports to keep them off balance enough that the reaction cannot be equal and opposite. Sometimes we must take an inferior posture, other times a superior posture, and other times an equal posture during the coaching session or dialogue and process of confronting someone who is out of integrity on their commitments. Second bullet point, range of emotional engagement. The martial arts analogy applies here when we think about range and the distance from us that another person is physically. Kicking range, punching range, trapping range, and grappling range. Each range represents an increase in closeness of one person with another, which in turn represents an increase in techniques that can be applied to the person. The same holds true for emotional engagement when we use stories, open sharing, excellent questions, and our own vulnerabilities in order to draw our clients or direct reports closer to us emotionally, paving the way for them to share and receive more openly, which in turn paves the way for collaborative versus adversarial accountability. Charlie, did you hear me slow down there again? Like, they're pave the way. If you're a leader, pave the way for collaborative versus adversarial accountability. And that doesn't get pressed back upon. All right, I didn't go word for word there. I ad-libbed a little bit, but let me backtrack and let's reset the word for word. The same holds true for emotional engagement when we use stories, open sharing, excellent questions, and our own vulnerabilities in order to draw our clients or direct reports closer to us emotionally, paving the way for them to share and receive more openly, which in turn paves the way for collaborative versus adversarial accountability. And that doesn't get pressed back upon. Because who presses on themselves? You have to establish yourself as on this. Anyway, all right, next bullet point here. Aristotle's ingredients of persuasion. You've probably heard of these referred to as logos, ethos, and pathos. Do you remember which is which? That's okay. Let me help. The way to remember logos is logic, the L-O-G. Logic refers to the argument. What are you arguing? Of all the arguments you could make, they will all be one of three kinds. You are either arguing that something is a fact, or you are arguing that we perceive a value of something, or you are arguing that we behave or refrain from behaving in a certain way. Fact, value, policy. We make our arguments more believable and acceptable if we provide congruent evidence and reasoning. Any of these three ingredients, the claim, the evidence, the reasoning, that do not follow from one another equals a fallacy. Beware of fallacies. So many 100-level college courses address the nature of fallacies and make the educated aware of dangerous argument patterns. So when you understand argumentation and the difference between sound and flawed logic, you're in a better position to hold somebody accountable. By the way, remember the last week's tip, though. Don't do it without their permission. Just because you understand logic doesn't mean you hold people accountable. You still need their permission to be more. Anyway, I digress. You guys understand? Bring all these tips together. Let me continue reading. The way to remember ethos is ethics, the ETH. Ethics refers to the credibility of the arguer, not necessarily the argument. Ethos/ethics answers the question, what makes you credible to make that argument? How do you know that, or how do you know what you know? What are your sources? There's a certain amount of credibility required to escape the consequences of accountability. And there's perhaps even more credibility required to apply the forces and consequences of accountability. Be clear that credibility is an important factor in accountability. The way to remember pathos is pathological, the path. I consider myself an empath, which means I can feel what other people feel. When we are talking about feelings, we are talking about emotions. And pathos, Charlie, you've got this one before, right? But that's another one, right? When we're talking about feelings, we're talking about emotions. Isolated, right? And pathos is an ability to appeal to the emotions of the person you wish to persuade. A world-class coach must understand the dominant emotions that drive human psychology, such as safety, certainty, belonging, excitement, esteem, connection, growth, and contribution. From Aristotle to Abraham Maslow to Carl Jung to Tony Robbins and beyond, the emotions that drive our behavior, the emotions we actually become addicted to, those drivers of our inner psychology have been well studied and can be appealed to in the course of increasing the chances our subjects will do what they say they will do. There are more tools of confrontation you can learn about, and I would love to see you enroll in our trainings. For now, understand that it will be difficult to confront someone without being ready for, if not totally preempting, the equal and opposite reaction that human beings will display when being pressed upon. All right, there it is. There's a lot of academia, a lot of like academic terms. I really had to like try to distill that one down in terms of what I learned as a master's, getting my master's in communication as a professor for 20 years, teaching students how to persuade, how to construct persuasive speeches, the ingredients of persuasion, the tactics of persuasion. I've had to like get out of the academia and kind of like convert this tip into accountability. What is it about persuasion what's the connection between persuasion and accountability? Well, a lot of times people think accountability is just, did you do it? Yes or no. But very often it's persuading people into the commitments they make. Does that make sense? Persuading people ethically and with their permission and with good strategy and with their goals in mind and with the leverage that we've talked about throughout in other areas of the book, etc. But accountability, what's to stop us from calling accountability just the A word for persuasion? What's to stop us? And I'm not saying that we have to, but isn't it fair, at least, if I ask you to consider that we think about accountability as a form of persuasion? All right, with that, I'll ask you to open up your mics and join me in tonight's conversation. We're in Get a Clue in 52, tip number 49 overall, tip number 7 in the accountability section. And we just got done reading Tools of Confrontation. Tools of Confrontation. And I see Charlie, Patty, and Sue with me on board live here on the Zoom side. We're streaming into my YouTube channel, Watch Get a Clue. I'm not streaming onto my YouTube channel. My Facebook channel tonight. I'm not going live on Facebook, although I could just pop up the phone and get it going. But I just wanted to get the tip read and say hello to you guys and see what's happening. What's going on? Do you guys have any comments, questions, anything that I can entertain for you guys? Any feedback, anything at all? Hello, hello, hello. Sue.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. How are you? Thank you.
Yeah, good. Hey, everyone. Charlie, Patty.
Are you up in the middle of the night?
No.
It's probably mid-afternoon for Sue. She's about 11 hours ahead of I am.
Finally got my times right. I always muck up my times for this. No, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Awesome time.
What a great time.
So now you got to be here every week.
It's Monday for you. It's Sunday night for me, right? Yeah.
So it is a work day. What I was interested in terms of levels of posture, could you give some examples of that, please?
Yeah, you want to role play that?
Sure.
Okay, so let's say that, again, remember, the context is tools of confrontation. The context beyond that is accountability. So the role play means, let's say that if in the role play, one of us is going to hold each other accountable. I'm going to go ahead and be the coach in this scenario so that I can answer your question. Yep. Are you ready? Okay. But let's say, just imagine, just try to be the most difficult person you could possibly be, right? And first of all, who are you? What do you do for a living? Are you a lawyer? Are you a coach? Are you a consultant? Are you a real estate agent? Are you an entrepreneur? Who are you?
I'm a consultant working on a project.
A consultant for what kind of company or what kind of project is it? Just give me a little more.
Okay. Working.
It's okay. Don't stress. Just make it up anything, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. What can I do? So consultant working in small business, rolling out some new software.
Okay, great. Awesome. Perfect. So remember, posture. Your question is posture. And we talked about inferior, equal, and superior posture, 3 levels of posture. And now I'm trying to hold you accountable. So we don't even any other context. Like, let's say, whatever, we're having the dialogue around something you committed to. You said you were going to do it, and then you didn't do it. Now I'm saying, why didn't you do that? You're like, you're starting to make excuses. You follow?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's pick it up from that. Sue, why didn't you do that?
Look, the CEO has just been a real nightmare.
Hang on a second, Sue. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm just the coach here. You're the one that knows how CEOs behave. But I don't remember the CEO committing to the thing that you committed to. I'm just the coach here. You're the one that knows better than I do. But I don't remember that the CEO that you're bringing up making your commitment. You're the one that committed to that, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm the consultant. I'm trying to do this project.
Yeah, I know. And Sue, check this out. Look, we're in this together, Sue. As your coach, I'm in this with you. I'm in the trenches with you, right? So together, we're going to figure out why you didn't do that. And then we're going to get you either recommitted or decommitted. So go ahead. All right. And then finally, hey, Sue, look, I'm the coach. I don't know how to install software in an organization. You know how to do that, but I know coaching.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm telling you right now, you're telling yourself a story.
Okay.
Anyway, so let me stop. Let me pause the role play. Sue, I was going very fast for you, but I don't know if you heard it. When I said, hey, I'm just the coach. You're the consultant. You're the one that knows how CEOs behave. And by the way, did you see it in your face? You were so off balance there, right?
Yep.
Right now, first of all, because it's a role play. Second of all, I'm me, right? And third, I shifted posture. I did. Patty, did you see it? Can somebody comment on what you saw right there? Charlie or Patty, please comment. Did you hear the 3 posture shifts? I'm just the coach. We're in this together. Hey, I'm the coach.
Right.
So an inferior, equal, and superior.
Yes,
did you guys hear it? Talk to me about it. Talk to me about what you heard.
Well, it was really fast, but you definitely.
Continue, Patty.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Charlie.
Patty. Go ahead, Patty.
No,
Go ahead, Patty.
You definitely were making a statement a couple times so that Sue could feel like, oh, he's acknowledging that I know the CEO. I know how to install the software, you know. But then when you were like, well, I'm the coach and I'm just going to tell you, you're telling yourself a story.
Yeah, there's stuff I skipped. And if this was my group mentoring, or if this was, a training session for Kluzu's online office hours for my training, or if it was actually a one-on-one training, right? This is my Sunday night thing that I do for free. So I wanted to go quickly and really just quickly demonstrate enough to answer your question. Hopefully you felt it deeper than that, right? But the subtle tones there are, I'm just the coach. You're the one that knows better than I do. Hey, we're in this together. Hey, you want to know what? I'm the coach. And sometimes you have to shift postures within the course of 10 seconds. Sometimes you establish a posture, you wait 10 minutes, and you got to take a different posture. But the idea is, and we're not trying to beat our clients the way a boxer would try to beat their opponent, or where the martial artist would try to beat their opponent. But we do have to beat their bullshit, their excuses, their stories, their self-talk, their rationale, the excuses and stories and stuff they put in their head to make their underachievement okay. And that can't happen on our watch if we're world-class accountability coaches. We have to be able to confront that they're not performing to the level, they're not doing what they said they were going to do. But very often in coaching, there are people that have a high ego. They're people that they're surrounded by people that are saying yes to them all the time, or people that are deferring. And we have to be the ones that say, no.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
you certainly made me feel off balance.
Well, yeah. Well, then, I was in control. You follow? And a world-class coach is in control of the accountability. If somebody's paying for accountability, a world-class coach got to be in control of it, right? Now, I'm trying to give the world as many tips as I can in accountability for free, on Sunday nights, right? If they're willing to watch the video and come online, other people pay me a lot of money for it, right? Students pay me money to learn it. Whether it's, the $5,000 to $12,000 I charge just to access to the content, or the extra money that I charge for one-on-one sessions, or the extra money that I charge to be in the group mentoring that I do that you're familiar with, to learn this at the depth that's required to be competent, let alone world class, right? I'm trying to bring that into the Sunday night jam and just flex my accountability muscle a little bit. And a lot of people that, you know, I'm kind of romanced by this a little bit right now, because it's so clear to me. So many people can pronounce accountability and they think they understand what it means because they can pronounce it. They think they have it because they can pronounce it. They think other people need it, but they don't, just because they can pronounce it. And I got news for the world. You don't understand accountability at all. Most people on a day-to-day basis, minute by minute, do everything they can to avoid accountability. And people are be willing to say negative stuff or make character attacks or tell stories or, you know, do stuff they're not proud of, just to avoid their own accountability. I had conversations, like, it's not just in business, obviously. It's in families, it's in the community, it's in the volunteer organizations, it's everywhere. And people would much rather tell a negative story about you than look within. People would much rather make something up and, you know, throw negative adjectives about people that are not in the room to defend themselves. They will look within about what they've done. You follow? So, you know, I'm passionate about this, but that's a great question to start us off, Sue. Thank you so much. Get a Klu in 52. Tip number 7 in accountability, number 49 overall on a Sunday night. Does anybody else have a comment or a question or a follow-up to Sue's comment or anything like that? Patty, your mic is opened.
Well, I was thinking about the 3 levels that we go through as we're coaching people, and I was thinking how important it is for the intention. I think that's why I like Confrontation.
Yeah.
Because the intention is always positive. It's always for the client.
Yeah. Well, you make a great point. I don't know if you have more to add to that before I feed back.
No, feel free.
Yeah. I mean, nobody likes confrontation. You know, I mean, I do it. I do it effortlessly. That doesn't mean I like it. I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish I could just do my job and not have to confront anybody ever.
Dream on.
Cool? Wouldn't that be? Yeah, dream on. Right? I hear Aerosmith in my head right now. Yeah, dream on. Dream until your dreams come true. All right, but my point is, yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no. You know, ultimately, and then here's what's interesting. For those of you watching the recording of this, and you know, in the future, or anybody that I don't know if I don't know if you're watching live on YouTube. I can't tell if you are, and I can't see comments, but there's just a universality, like there's something universal about this, you know, accountability business, right? I was going to say something that I thought was a little more profound. It seems to have escaped me for a second. I'll search for it. For anybody watching, certainly not for that. Yeah, there's just a macro level universal jam about accountability. It's not
unlike integrity. When you say, you know, are you in integrity? Are you, you know, holding yourself accountable? Everybody wants to say yes until they get a little closer examination.
Yeah.
And it's easier to look at other people and say, oh, they're not accountable, than it is to look at ourselves.
Yeah, let me be a little bit vulnerable. Yeah, and talk about like one thing that it's got to be, if there's like what's my greatest weakness in my life, and I think it's just, you know, I enjoy drinking beer. I like drinking beer. You know, I think about all the hours I spend drinking beer and what I would do with my life if I weren't drinking beer in that moment, right? This is just to be honest with you. Like, I think about it. I'm still productive. I'm still a contributing member to society. I've saw all these other things, but I just wonder every now and then, would I be more productive if I drank less beer? All right. When I drink beer, do I have to drink that much beer? Right. When is too much too much? When's enough? On and on and on. So I don't know if you've ever had the experience of being cut off at a bar. Like, we're not going to serve you anymore, sir. Has anybody ever had that experience? Charlie, have you ever had that experience? Have you? I say no. Okay.
Listen, I'll be the judge to that.
Well, here's I bring this up for a reason, right? Yeah. Because in your head, and this doesn't happen to me very often. Honestly, I love drinking beer, but I can count on one hand the number of times I've ever been cut off in my whole life. I don't drink like that. I'm not a destructive person like that, right? But it's happened. It's happened where somebody says, "Sorry, I'm not going to serve you anymore."
On that point, Coach Jeff, would it be that the barman is actually taking that authoritative position to say, it's my responsibility to have
you're damn right
patrons, to have patrons drink responsibly, because in his mind, he's seeing that, hold on a minute, you seem to have had one too many, okay, maybe 10, 5, 7, whichever he has set is like one too many. And then he holds you as the patron accountable. So I think that is more like him, the barman, taking responsibility and also maybe accountability for his job.
100%. Yes. No offense, Charlie. That's the easy part. That's not the part that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right. To me, no offense, Charlie, but that's the easy part. No. That's the of course part. Of course, he's accountable to himself. He or she hasn't been drinking at all. They're sober. They need to keep their job. They also need to protect the establishment and not let their patrons drive home or leave drunk, etc. What I'm bringing this example up for is what happens. Remember what the tip was: the equal and opposite reaction. Okay, so let me, Charlie, just give me a second here. Give me a second. Yeah, give me a second. The equal and opposite reaction. So, on the one hand, we have to look at life through you say a barman, right? Barman, barwoman, bartender, the server. We have to look at life through their perspective, and they see something. Okay. When I look at that own position through my own perspective, the very first thing that's going to show is like, right? The very first thing that I'm going to do is pushback. If they say you've had too many, and then at first you sit up and you start to make eye contact, and in the moment you want another drink, or you pushed on, you want to push back, you feel like you're accused of having too many, but you don't feel that way in your head. And you understand, I've seen this happen to other people where the person can't drink anymore. And then the person has to do the job. But it's happened to me, and I've had that feeling come over me, like where I felt all of my instincts to argue with the person or to disagree, or what do I need to do to get another. I felt those things, and I'm just, because of what I've learned and what I've taught myself, I've just, thank you. Water with lemon, please. Water. And I may be fighting everything inside of me that wants another beer. I think I'm okay, or I can keep going, or I'm fine, or hey, ask me to do the alphabet backwards. Call me tomorrow, or whatever I need to do to demonstrate. Thank you, Patty. That I'm okay. That's that's the first instinct that comes, right? But thank God, even if they think I've had too much to consume, I thank God that I can say, you know what? Thank you. I'll have water with lemon, please. Here's the key to my car. Call for a ride. I'm not doing. Thank you for holding me accountable. Whatever. And it's an extreme example. It's not a fun example to bring up. It doesn't have to be very often, but it has happened. And I recognize what happens in the moment when I'm being held accountable. I push back, and I want to come up with anything, and I want to say anything, and I want to do anything to dismiss my own behavior. Here's the accountability, right? Or the Kluby snack, Charlie. Accountability. Accountability always will. You already have this one written down. But here it is. Accountability will always feel like an attack when we're not ready to be responsible for our behavior. The sad part is, for me, very lonely thing, to be honest with you, very lonely thing. Because, there's a lot of people like in my community or in my family or, it's like you'd think in your family, you do have automatic permission to hold people accountable, but you'd be surprised, what happens, the pushback when you try to confront people. And in my family, I don't use my world-class coaching techniques as well as I would like to. I'm just a dad that's frustrated that people don't clean up after themselves. Or I'm just a dad that's frustrated that nobody's taking care of the dogs that they begged me for. It's just normal stuff, right? and so when I'm a dad, I don't always, have the peace of mind or the wherewithal to resort to what I know: technique, structure, framework, approach, persuasion, accountability. I'm a human being just like anybody else. What did I say at the beginning? Despite all of the logic we possess, we're emotional creatures. Sue, you had your hand up. What do you got?
Yeah, just on what you're talking about in that family dynamic where you I'm interested if it's relevant, what you think maybe drives some of that losing sight of, like, you've got these principles, these coaching principles that you teach, you work by. Why does that go out the window in a family environment?
Because it's multi-determined. First of all, there's a lot of reasons. It's hard. God, to try to answer that question is really difficult. But let me just say this: it's okay. Hi, Abigail. It's my daughter's coming in. The dogs are barking. Go ahead, Abby. Go. Thank you. It's multi-determined. Okay, so one of the answers that comes to mind is a lot of times the thing that triggers you isn't the thing that really upsets you. It's the thing that reminds you of all of the boiled up upset that's stored inside. Dude, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like everybody on a day-to-day basis, we have to pick our battles wisely. Right? Do I say anything about this? Do I have time to say anything about this? I got to go there. They got to go here. Do we have time to talk about this in a rational way? So we do over the shoulder. We do over the shoulder parenting. You know what I mean? And then other times, like in my case, it's like triggers from childhood. Like I'll tell you that I remember coming home one night when I was a kid, and we got home with my parents, my family. We were all gone for the night, and we walked into the house. We could tell we had been robbed. We had been broken into. Our house was broken into. As soon as we walk in the house, somebody's been sleeping in my bed. Drawers were left open, stuff was disheveled. As soon as we walked in, we had the trauma that somebody was in our house when we weren't there. Somebody went through our stuff and they didn't clean up after themselves. And we knew because drawers were left open. Stuff was left out. And so now when I see stuff left out, I get a reminder of that shock of it. Just triggers a reminder for me of being broken in. Do you follow? Another thing is my mom was a neat freak, and my mom wanted all the pillows straightened on the couch, no dishes in the sink, nothing on the countertops. On a behavioral assessment, she was very high aesthetics. Everything had to be, she couldn't leave the house and work for the day until everything was straight and spotless. So when she came home, if anything was out of place, I got yelled at. So you follow? So if I hadn't taken out the trash, vacuumed, straightened the pillows, got all the dishes out of the sink, when she got home from a long day of work, it was going to be a nightmare for my brother and I. And so now when I see my family leaving stuff out, I feel like my mom's going to yell at me. It's a trigger. You follow? Another thing is like, I've asked how many times will you please just clean up after yourself? And it's just frustrating for any parent to wonder how many times do you have to ask for people to clean up after themselves for them to actually do it on their own without you having to ask anymore. It's like, it doesn't seem like it's a difficult request, does it? If you open a drawer, close it. If you use a knife, rinse it off and put it away. Like if you just ate food, rinse it out and put it, like, why leave food? Why do you leave dishes? I can go on and on. It just doesn't make sense to me. And then, so how would you, I want to be patient and I want to be loving and I want to be mature and I want to be professional. And will you just clean up after yourself? Like and that's a personal example. Another thing is read the book. I want to say it's Made to Stick. I'm looking at my little mini bookshelf over here, which is not the one I have in my garage. Made to Stick, I think it is.
Yeah, that's a great book.
By the Heath brothers, Chip and Dan Heath. And in that book, they're talking about what makes messages sticky versus forgettable. How come some messages we remember forever? Like, where's the beef? I don't know if you remember that commercial, Where's the Beef? Wendy's back in the 80s, right? It was one of the most famous ads of all time. How do we remember Just Do It? Why is that so sticky, right? There's certain things in marketing and sales and that are sticky, slogans, phrases, catchwords, right? The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coffee, aching, stuffy head fever so you could rest medicine. Why do we remember that? Like, how on earth did I memorize that? You follow? Why is that sticky? Why does that stick with me versus so many other things? And without getting into the whole book, a big part of it is emotion. Right.
So part of it,
and by the way, Patty, I don't. Let me hang on to Patty. I don't think it's made to stick. I think it's their other book, Switch.
Well, I know I read one of the books. I thought it was made to stick, but
well, I want to say it's in their second book that I read, Switch, which is like Switch is like, it's like more of like a change management book than a marketing book. But the idea is the analogy that comes to mind. I'll tell you. Imagine, Sue, an elephant and a rider. Imagine the most professional elephant rider in all of the land. The elephant rider that's ridden more elephants than in all of the history of elephant riding. You follow the elephant rider that's written all the books and trains other elephant riders and knows more about elephant riding than has ever been learned yet. Okay. This elephant rider is logical, got it down, got the systems, techniques, the structure, and that rider sits on top of that elephant. Okay. How much chance do you think that rider has if that elephant's pissed? Thank you for laughing. If that elephant's pissed off, that elephant's going where it wants to go, right? Despite whatever the rider knows.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the best chance the rider has is not their riding skills. The best chance the rider has is to shape the path before they even get onto the elephant. So that way, when the elephant's pissed, they're still going to go down the path that was shaped, rather than they're still going to find a path of least resistance. So shape the path, then ride the elephant. Now, regardless of their emotion, they're going to go where you want them to. But your question was, for me or Patty's, hey, even though I'm an excellent rider, I'm still an elephant that gets upset every now and then too. I'm an emotional being. I'm a human being. I have triggers. I have upsets. I have wounds. I have traumas. Right. And I was talking about this with a friend of mine earlier today. It's like, Jeff, yeah, what you do for a living, yeah, you do that for a living, but this is like community. This is the neighborhood. This isn't what you do for a living. This is like, I'm like, no, there's no difference to me. But here's the difference. I don't have my neighbor's permission to hold them accountable. I don't have my friend's permission to hold them accountable. You understand? Go back to 2 weeks ago. The tip: secure permission. If you don't have somebody's permission to hold them accountable, you're going to find yourself just seeming like an asshole. Or inciting an equal and opposite reaction. Even when you have permission to hold people accountable, everything has an equal and opposite reaction. So I guarantee you right now, God bless my kids. I love my kids. But if they do something they're not supposed to do, or if they fail to do something that they're supposed to do, as soon as I hold them accountable, God, I hate Dad. And it's easier for them to actually say, I hate Dad, than it is for them to say, you know what, I should have done that, or I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You guys does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And even it sort of goes around a bit in a circle in that we are understanding those triggers within us. There's a level of being vulnerable to open ourselves to that accountability.
Yes.
And so that starts to go round.
Yeah, it's there's nothing perfect about it. You can't separate our logic from our emotion. There's no Batman without Joker. And when you break it down, they seem both equally capable of some pretty incredible stuff. It's just what's the motivation, right? And logic's motivation is to help everybody per se. Emotion's motivation is self-preservation. You follow? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, it's all going to come down to self-preservation and ego defense and a lot of the things that we learn in the Get a Klu coaching and leadership training, and more about tools of confrontation, mindset, check up from the neck up. But tonight we're keeping it surface with Get a Klu at 52. right? There's another place where we go deeper on this stuff and so much more, which is my coaching and leadership training, the Integrity Game leadership training. It's a program that requires an investment and a commitment, and it's supported with group mentoring or one-on-one sessions, but it's access to like 45 gigs of content of me articulating, explaining techniques, resources, strategies, dialogues for getting people engaged, motivated, and accountable in their lives and businesses. But tonight, we're just reading a couple of tips from a book. All right, Get a Clue in 52. Who else has a comment or a question that I can handle for you? Anything at all? 8:50 p.m.
I was going to ask a similar question to Sue that you also covered in answering it. Like, as a coach, where do you find the balance in the home life? Because the dynamics are totally different. Yes, you have the authority to hold accountable, but then the pushbacks are totally different. So all aspects are very different, and you basically answered quite a lot in answering Sue. So, it's actually something that as you were going on, I was like going, but wait a minute. Here you got a world-class coach on accountability. What happens?
Who can't hold his family accountable to save his life?
In the back room. What happens in the back room? Yeah. I'm going to ask that one.
No, isn't that fun, right?
It's finding that balance.
I don't have their permission, and they're not paying me money, and they're not invested, and they don't see themselves as, it's not a goal-oriented accountability, So like there's a goal they're trying to achieve, and then I'm holding. It's just the context is so different.
Yes, it's all within the context, and the same would apply to the community as well, unless you have been elected into a, I don't know how you call it, a state, municipal, community.
Yeah. Even if you
position.
have, people usually elect people to volunteer positions because they don't want to do the work, not because they want to be held accountable. Patty, you raised your hand. You have thank you. You have something else, Patty? What do you got?
As a former volunteer, pathologically, I can say that's true. But what I was thinking was, in coaching or in a family, there's always sort of the leverage, the consequences, right?
Yeah.
That's really what I know as I was growing up, the consequences of my behavior was what changed my behavior.
Yeah. Well, it sucks. It sucks.
It's not fun to be a kid, and it's not fun to be a parent.
It's hard. Like, all I want is for my kids to have everything in the world they want and to work their asses off to be whoever they want to be. And then, but in order to teach them the things I need to teach them, which is accountability, responsibility, especially when it comes to like caring for animals, creatures, like living creatures. You can't just be on your phone and leave the brownies on the counter. You can't do that. When there's dogs, you have to put the phone down and look around and say, what do I need to do here? You need to be present-minded. And I don't want my daughter to be without her makeup. I don't want my daughter to not go out and go to her friends' birthday parties. But you know what? I don't want her to kill our dogs either. So what do? I'm not, I'm a dad. I'm not a world-class accountability coach there. I don't care about my technique and my masters, my education. I'm a human being with emotions in that situation,
Yeah, and you're a dad.
Yeah. So, it's just, we're talking about a couple different things here, but, it's interesting. Tools of confrontation. I can study this. I can master this. I can get a degree in persuasion, and I can go through boot camp accountability coaches trainings, and I can have, 14, 15 years of 10,000 hours of accountability sessions underneath my belt. And it still doesn't make me, give me any advantages with my family. Zero. My wife, zero. My wife just said.
There's probably a lot there that you're not seeing at the moment.
Yeah, of course. So what else? Other questions, comments for tip number?
We have to give you the triad.
Me?
To change your state of mind here.
Oh, look, I told you, it's not that unwanted moods aren't going to come. I just hope that I'm better at getting out of them once they do. I hope I can recognize them sooner and get out of them quicker once they arrive. Knowing how to author your state of mind doesn't mean you're not going to prevent unwanted moves.
No, I know. I'm just saying that we need to get you laughing hard or something.
Oh, why don't you come live with us for a week? 1 week, Patty. Come stay. We got a room. All right. Get a Klu in 52.
You know, you could invite me in as the great aunt that's going to hold them accountable.
You are perpetually invited. Like, all you got to do is let us know when you want to come, and doors open for you, Patty. That's 100% true. All right. Get a Klu in 52 is in the 7th tip of accountability, number 49 overall. 3 more tips after tonight will give us a 52 total. And then I got to start next year with a brand new 5 new categories and 52 new tips. Isn't that going to be exciting? I can't wait to preview that in the coming weeks. Can you believe it? 5 new categories, 52 brand new tips. It's going to be the entrepreneur edition of Get a Klu in 52. And I'm going to have a co-author with me in that project. And boy, are we excited about it. We're close to getting it produced. I can't wait. I really, looking forward to having new tips to discuss every Sunday night. We're closing out the 2nd year in a row with these tips. It was worth it to do a 2nd year in a row because we made so many improvements and corrections from the first version to the 2nd edition of Get a Klu in 52, but there's no need to do a 3rd edition. Not enough changes to make to justify a 3rd edition. So what we're going to do is a brand new book. It's still Get a Klu in 52, but it's going to be like, it's an entrepreneur edition with a co-author. All right, I'll say that. Any other comments or question about tonight's tip or anything that I could do for you guys before I dismiss and get back to the rest of my, weekend, what's left of it? Anything else, you guys? Charlie, Patty, Sue, anything else for tonight?
Thank you very much once again, Coach Jeff, for all your invaluable insights and teachings. And it's always good to have fun.
Yes, and, always.
Yeah. And it's been a pleasure having Sue with us today.
Yes,
always.
Yeah, you're always out on Facebook Live, so it was good to see you again too, Sue.
Yeah, you got enough Klubi snacks for tonight, Charlie? I'm sure. I mean, we regurgitated at least 1 or 2, but I thought there may have been some new ones that came out tonight. So you're good there?
I'm good, but I'd like you to maybe give 1 or 2 more focused on the topic per se, so that I can also string and put them into categories.
Oh no, no, I wouldn't worry about that. I'll put them into categories. You just capture them.
Okay.
You're doing great. Don't worry about the categories. Just capturing them as they come about so we don't miss them in real time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't, again, and the ones that are relative to tonight's topic were in the actual writing. They're in the book themselves. So that's why I pause when I read them. But I just,
okay.
Every now and then there's others.
I did pick up 1 or 2. I did pick up 1 or 2 others as well. I'll just need to reword them and then you can edit them as well.
Okay, very good. Anything else from anybody else then tonight?
All good then.
All right, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being with me on another installment of Get a Klu in 52. Tonight's tip was the 7th in accountability. It's the 49th overall. We got 3 tips left to finish out the year. We're about to seal it with a kiss. That's my favorite part. Here we go. Charlie, are you ready? Do you have version 1? Okay, good. Here we go. Seal it with a kiss. Good night, everybody. I love you so much. All right. Have a great week.
Have a great week, everybody.
We'll talk to you soon.